Rev up your engines!
Poopy Things 21. Scotty, I'm not trying to say you're wrong, but I've seen many 2007 to 12 Nissan Altimas with the 2.5 cylinder run quite some time. How many have you seen? I've been a mechanic for 51 years. I see the problems that vehicles have. And not every single one of them falls apart. But in my book, if let's say 10 out of 100 of them have engines that blow up, I tell people don't buy those. Do you want to be one of the 10 out of the 100 that has an engine that blows up? Nobody wants that to happen. That's not something that you want to get involved in. And in the past, 90s, pretty good vehicles. Could run a long time, but once Renault took over, Nissan, their qualities. And I see too many problems to ever advise people to buy one. Like I say, you will get lucky. You might have a good one. But there are too many bad ones out for me to tell people to go buy something. Because to me, if there's more than just a handful of them, you don't want to buy it. Nesmuk, how tight should you put on an oil filter? Hand tight, and then a quarter turn with oil? What should I do? You want it tight. You don't want it coming off. Now realize that you put them on by hand. Now you don't want them to stick. You don't want that rubber to stick to the metal on the block. So before you do anything, get the old oil filter. If it has one of those little plastic covers on it, take it off and throw it away. Get some clean oil and put it all the way around the rubber seal. That way, it's lubricated. And once it's lubricated, then when you turn it on, seat nice, but won't stick from dry rubber on an engine block. About as tight as you can get with your bare hands. Because if it's lubricated, it's not going to stick. And when you take off oil filters, you always use a wrench anyway. You don't want to have it that, I don't want it too tight so I can't get it off with my bare hands. Get a wrench that takes your oil filter off. They don't cost much. And a lot of cars these days you have to because they got those stupid paper ones that are inside a plastic canister. And that canister, you can't get it off with your bare hands. You got to have the special socket that fits on the end and then you put a ratchet and pull it off. So do that. You don't have to worry about getting it too tight with your bare hands unless you're, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And even then you'd be able to get it off with a wrench as long as you put some oil on the lip. 0209 says, I got an 09 Chevy Equinox. It's kind of slow when you accelerate. You notice more when you're going uphill. Okay, those aren't the greatest vehicles, but you own it, so you might as well take care of it. Don't put a bunch of money in it, though. Like if the transmission starts to go out, get rid of the thing. Don't throw that kind of money into it. But any vehicle that has slow acceleration, especially uphill, that's called a loaded problem, meaning the vehicle doesn't run right when it's got a big load, and you get a big load when you're accelerating going uphill. Do the obvious things. If it needs a tune-up, change the spark plugs, air filter, fuel filter, that kind of stuff. If that doesn't fix it, I got a video. How to clean fuel injectors without removal. You'd want to try that because if they're clogged up, they can clean them up. Now, if that's not it, then basically you go to a mechanic like me. We get on our high-level scan tool that we have, and we analyze all the live historical data and Mode 6 data, and we can figure out which system isn't working right. You might have a code somewhere, too, so you get it scanned. And not just because your check engine light isn't on. That doesn't mean that there's not going to be coded information. Check engine light only comes on when you get generally more than 20-25% off. And the vehicle won't run right going uphill, even if it's only 10-12% off, but that won't trip a code, so you always want that information analyzed. Dash Renault 2, Scotty, any suggestions for a motorcycle as a daily driver? Thanks. Well, first think, a daily driver. Where do you live? Is this going to be logical? I've had guys here in Houston that said, motorcycle, great, I'm going to have a daily driver. Then they find out how much it rains here at times, and they find out what a hellacious drive it was going to work getting soaking wet on a motorcycle and dangerous of sliding around, and they realize, gee, I shouldn't have got a motorcycle in the first place. Or up north where it's freezing cold and snow and you're going to kill yourself on the ice driving a motorcycle. But that said, any Japanese motorcycle as a daily driver is going to last. You have to decide, what do you want? What can you handle? If you want a little toy to go around in, get a 125 or a 250. That'll get you here and there and run forever and get fantastic gas mileage. If you know how to drive a motorcycle, maybe get a 600 that's got more pep to it and zinging around it. If it's a daily driver, my advice is stay away from the big boys. Don't get a 1,000, 1,200 cc. They're big and heavy. They're hard to park, hard to maneuver. And if you want a daily driver, the Japanese make so many different types of motorcycles. Make your head spin. And they're all extremely reliable. But go to what your riding capability is. Don't be one of these guys like those kids in California that they're baggers at a grocery store and they buy a 190-mile-an-hour motorcycle and then killed themselves flying off the coast highway because they didn't know what they were doing. You know, don't overbuy your capabilities. Francisco 2000. Hey, Scotty, is a front-wheel drive car good in Washington? Because Lexus ES350 is front-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive, one of the main reasons they went to front-wheel drive is because they ride in all terrains. It's much easier and efficient and accurate to pull something than it is to push something. And that's one of the reasons they went to front-wheel drive. My mother is 92, still drives, lives in Buffalo, New York, and she's got a Toyota Corolla that's front-wheel drive, and she has no problem in the snow, and that's a little light vehicle. The Lexus is even better because it's a heavier vehicle, and you got the weight on the drive wheels there with the engine and transmission. No, they're excellent in the snow. There's no problems at all. Like I say, that's one of the big reasons they went to front-wheel drive. Ernie 530 says, hey, Scotty, my truck started idling poorly every time I changed the spark plug boots about a month ago. You say it happened now after you changed the spark plugs. If it's been happening for the last month, you messed something up. Realize that when you change spark plugs, most cars have the coil-on plugs. Now you got to take the coil-on plug assembly off of each one. Just the fact that they've been sitting there for years, they're rubber and plastic, just unplugging them and pulling them off sometimes can damage the coil-on plugs. So I would check those first. And then also check where you work, see if any wires have been broken, see if any sensors have come off, see if you knocked any vacuum lines off. If it happened after you did that work, something you did went wrong. And of course, make sure you use the right spark plugs. Take one out, look at it, look it up on a computer or go to AutoZone or someplace and say, is this comparable to my vehicle? Sometimes people accidentally get the wrong spark plugs and they won't run right then either.
So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.